Oh, Michael, you lovely man. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to That Pedal Show VCQ. Viewers, comments, and questions. Dan here.
Mick here. Hello. Greetings on this Monday, the 21st of March, 2022. Whoever thought we'd get here, Dan?
Indeed. Almost didn't.
Oh, look at that. Cup noodles are advertising. That's
now our
classy.
audience.
That is classy.
Yep. Gotta have money for pedals, man. How do we do that? We exist on cup noodles.
Yeah. Asian Blast, look. Ramen style by Nissin. They look good. We like those. Devices. Silent. Jolly good.
Indeed, that's a great shout, actually.
Welcome, everyone. For those of you who've been here before, you know exactly what to expect. For those of you who are new, we do this every Monday, or at least all the Mondays that we are able to do so. And we answer questions, VCQ. We prioritise the super chat. So if you're able to super chat, that gets prioritised. And yeah, we just talk about things and stuff, ask questions, discuss matters arising. How's your week been, Daniel?
It was really good. So we had Lee's 50th on Saturday night. So my wife and I went down to sunny Guildford.
Yes.
And went to a little bar and hung out with Lee and Chappers and Rabia and, or you know, they had this really cool duo, drummer and a piano player. It was just flippin' awesome.
Happy birthday to the captain. It's actually his birthday tomorrow, Mr.
Yes.
Anderton. I was unfortunately unable to attend.
Yes, it was. Yes, but yeah, that was really good. Just to go out and hang out with people again.
Yeah, nice.
It's like it's been a long time.
Yeah, right.
And it was really lovely. Hang out with Jack, Mr. Jack Duxbury, which was brilliant fun. Yeah. How was your week since I saw you last? Which
good.
Was, yeah, good.
Managed to get sunburned in the UK in March.
Awesome.
Whilst also having sunscreen on.
Really?
I know, it's mad, isn't it?
That's mad.
I spent all day in the garden doing gardening. A giant spot come up on my face.
Nice.
Yeah. But
Well, see, I wouldn't have noticed that I hadn't pointed it out.
Well, I think it's important to acknowledge these
I would
things.
have just gone, Mick, got a bit of
Yeah.
jubbly on you.
Got a bit of shit on your face. That is my face, sir. Hello from North Carolina, says Jeff Harper.
Is
Hello.
that a South Park thing?
Yeah. It's butters, isn't it? Mark Lavinish, good morning from Colorado. Hello, Mark. Jolly Willard, hello from Chicago. Now I want ramen.
Oh, man, now you've said it.
I know. I wonder if we could... so our good friend Ainsley Lister is coming down tonight. We're going to film with Ainsley tomorrow to follow up on the... I built him sort of an ersatz pedal board ages ago, fully expecting him to say, nah, not for me, mate. Anyway, he's been using it in earnest. Loves it. He's about to go on tour. So I said, why don't you come back then? Update us on how you've been getting on with this whole wet-dry shenanigans. And have Dan breathe on the board so it's actually tour-worthy rather than held together with, you know, gaffer tape and cable ties, which is how I did it. But so it should be good, and we should hang out with Ainsley. He's going to talk a little bit about playing dynamically, because we know how much we all enjoy doing that. He's very much an amp and guitar kind of guy, and plays with superb dynamics off the guitar. He's brought us a 64 Vibe Reverb to borrow.
Oh, man.
So it should be a day of fun and discoverings.
Indeed.
We've had some discoverings of our own today.
Oh, my goodness. We really have. Look at this thing. Just look at that.
It's my reverb.com purchase for this week.
That was unreal.
Yeah. Anyway, more of that later. Hi from Folsom, California, says Chris
lovely.
Smith. I never knew. So Folsom, as in Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash, that's Folsom, California, is it?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes.
Yeah. I hear the train are coming.
Yeah.
John Channing. Hello, everyone, on this fine day. Hello from Shropshire, says Simon Gray.
El Spectre, hello from Houston, Texas.
Ah.
Rainy, cold, and grey today.
Yeah. Tennessee, LC Vol 73. Big thank yous to BV Ninja for moderating, as always.
As always.
Thank you, BV. You make this world a better place.
Daniel DeWanico, Nashville here. Can we go to Nashville, please? I really want to go. And Oysten Cook says hi from sunny London. Yes, it's been a beautiful day today.
O'Sheen is how you
O'Sheen?
pronounce that. Yeah.
Not Oysten.
No, I had to. The Oysten O'Grady, O'Sheen O'Grady,
Okay.
TPS watcher of many moons. I had to email him and say, "How do you spell your name?"
Right.
Say your name.
Okay.
And it's O'Sheen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that Irish?
It is.
Okay.
You know when it says,
Yeah.
but
Karen.
it's actually Paul.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. St. Louis, says Nathan Fortin. Rob Brewer's on from Bristol.
Oh, lovely.
North Carolina from Louis Brinksell. Daniel Kong from Singapore.
Matt Siddons, hello from muddy Minnesota. And Jesse Yasatis says hello from windy northern Wisconsin.
Tallahassee, Florida, we've got Jason Johnson.
Awesome.
And, of course, Eagle Ray Rob. Happy spring, leg ends. Indeed it is. Our clocks go forward next week, which is just...
And may they always stay thusly. They're passing a law in America now where that daylight savings time will be permanent.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Nice.
And there was a unanimous vote, apparently. Now it's got to go to the House of Representatives, I think. Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me. I do like a bit of light in the morning. Being something of an early riser.
Oh, okay. Well, just start the day a bit later.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
There we go.
Been listening to, I think they're called Jamestown Revival Band. There's one of the verses goes, I've been going down early, getting up with the sun. Been fond of this way of living, fond of the way it's done.
Oh, okay.
Go to sleep when it gets dark, get up when it gets early.
I like that.
Sounds very sort of, yeah.
I have had, actually, something that happened a couple of weeks ago. I don't think I mentioned it to you. I had this amazing... I don't sleep very well normally.
I know that.
Right? I've stopped eating anything after 7 p.m.
Oh, yeah. Super.
That has been the most amazing thing. Obviously, I'm going to eat tonight because we're going out for a curry with Ainsley.
Yeah.
But normally, I won't have anything to eat after 7 p.m. and I get to bed about 11 o'clock normally. Far out. Like a light.
That's interesting.
It's been amazing.
That's interesting.
There we go.
That's really interesting. It's very good for you as well not to eat too late.
Very good.
Apparently.
Yeah, very good.
You don't want to do too many things that are very good for you. Otherwise, if you don't make it to next week, it was a waste of time.
Indeed. Gerson Martinez says, Gerson here, hello from Guatemala.
Yeah.
How lovely.
I've drunk some of your coffee.
I've eaten some of your dark chocolate.
Yeah. Thank you for coffee and chocolate.
Jay Sackett, hi guys, from New York's Catskill Mountains. Wow.
Nice.
Very nice. Wow, lovely.
Let us jump into these questions. We should say hello to the podcast listeners. This VCQ now goes out as a podcast to our patrons on Patreon. So for those of you who like listening to that, hello, we hope you're well and doing something fun on this fine day.
Indeed. And also, thank you to everyone that's gone to thatpedalshowstore.com and grabbed some merch. And we just had some new T-shirts in.
We do.
I'm contractually obligated to do a twirl, apparently. This is my new thing now. I'm twirling. Catherine,
This is good.
How's that? Is that all right? Look at that.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
I like it.
Good job you're not in the woods.
What is that?
It's an epic target.
Yeah. Right.
Okay then, Plexico, always first. He says he is stepping down from pole position, but anyway, in his second Super Chat tonight, Duncan, your support and your first up in Super Chat is beyond.
Yeah, mate. Amazing.
so much.
Amazing. Thank you, Bo. Really appreciate it.
The question is, hi M&D, great show last week. With regards to amp tubes, in brackets, valves, thank you for the English translation. Any suggestions for elongating their lifespan, a variac or any other option? Thanks. And I guess this is in respect of the impending tube shortages if we can't get any more tubes out of Russia or indeed China.
Yeah.
Variac's definitely not the right thing to do.
No.
Because that, as you drive the amp harder and starve the voltage, you're driving the tubes harder.
Indeed, indeed. The most important thing was to make sure that your amp is biased correctly. that includes vintage amps, and what I mean by that is if you've got a vintage cathode biased amplifier, or you've just stuck some new tubes in an old amp and you haven't had it biased properly, the tubes that are made, valve tubes that are made today, have got different tolerances than the valve tubes from yesteryear. So it's just all about making sure that your bias, remember bias is a range, right? It's a range. And just got to make sure that you get that lovely swing up and down, and that sits nicely in the middle, and it's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's Goldilocks. So just get things, if you're concerned about making your valves last for as long as possible, get it biased properly and you'll be fine. Another thing I think is if you're doing a set, like things like put your amp on standby and then turn your amp off between sets.
Yeah, there's a lot of conflicting opinion. There's a lot of conflicting opinion on that. That leaving on your amp on standby for long periods of time can do something called cathode stripping.
Right.
And everyone gets really annoyed with each other online about that. What Dan says is probably right. Just turn it off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it doesn't take very long to warm up again.
Yeah.
There are people who say that the standby switch on all amps is entirely unnecessary. It's basically a marketing exercise.
Right.
Even Martin Kidd says that. But anyway, regardless, turn it off if you're really worried about it. But then there might be the argument to say that throwing the HT across it too many times could... Honestly, if you hammer your amps, crank them up, and I feel for people here who crank AC15s and 30s and Princetons and stuff like that with those 6v6s and EL84s, you're going to go through valves more quickly. If you run amps with higher headroom and you don't crank them power stage wise, they just last for flipping ages, or they generally last much longer.
Yeah, and there's a difference between wanting to revalve your amp and needing to revalve your amp.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I remember, when I had the AC30 dimed, 4 or 5 nights a week, and after 6 months, it still sounded great. There was no real need for me to rebias it, but I was like, to revalve it. I'm like, I'll put a fresh set of valves in there. It's good, and I did, and the amp sounded great, and away it went. But I've still got a whole of the old valves.
It went that long.
Well, if you're doing, I remember with the when the We Will Rock You guys are doing their thing in London, and they had like 4 amps, and because they knew that at some point at the show, two were going to go.
Yeah.
And they would, because they were ran flat out and biased really hot, and it was just cooking the whole time. And there's a way to run that amp so it doesn't run that hot, but what they're after was a really specific sound.
Yeah.
And they were willing to, do all that.
I remember interviewing the guy from Athlete, the band Athlete, I think from up north somewhere, maybe Manchester, and I sincerely apologise if I've got that wrong. And I was doing his rig on stage and stuff, and he's got 3 AC30s lined up. I've got, why have you got 3? He said, for when they go.
Very good.
I mean, it's such a weird thing to say in this day and age, isn't it? Because most people go, well, why don't you just get a Kemper or a Matchless or something that's not going to blow up?
Yeah.
But he loved the sound of those, non-master volume Marshall era AC30s.
I mentioned it last week that Dave Gregory has got the original tubes that his Matchless came with in '94.
Yeah.
And he's been running it, he hasn't gigged loads, but he's definitely gigged lots and recorded lots with an amplifier.
Sounds great.
One of the best amps I've ever heard, So if you look after it, you don't hammer them to death, and they're going to be okay.
Yeah. Cheers, Duncan. Right, Alessandro Sivieri. Hello, he says, hi, Mick and Dan. Thank you for your shows, as usual. Question, how do you fight getting bored when searching for good settings on your pedals? I like swapping stuff on my boards, but I just want to play.
I don't search. Sorry.
Are you veering into option paralysis here? Is that what you're saying? You're searching for the best sounds on the pedal, so you kind of get lost in that instead of just going for it and playing. I think that's probably what you're saying.
Yeah.
We've all been guilty of that, haven't we?
Yeah, totally. Especially when you've got a pedal that can do a lot of things.
Yeah, or that's new and you're trying to work it out.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed having, in light of what has occurred today, video upcoming, I've very much enjoyed recently just simplifying everything down and trying deliberately decomplicating things in the rig so that I have to think more about my playing, and that's a bit of a challenge. However, what we did today,
flippin' heck,
pick this old Boogie 212 EV cab up off Reverb, supposedly once belonged to Mike Rutherford, and finally got to run it on the end of my Boogie power amp, but we've split the speakers so it's doing wet dry in one cab. It's been we've made a video on it, so that'll be upcoming in a couple of weeks. Quite surprising, isn't it?
Amazing.
Yeah, the Zilla ones are either side because we compared a left-right sort of horizontally spaced pair of 112s with a vertically spaced pair of 112s in a wet dry experiment just to see what we thought. And the boards got quite complicated again, and gloriously so.
Yeah, amazing.
So anyway, Alessandro, what would we say? Simplify?
If it's an issue, if you're finding it a roadblock, absolutely simplify. You shouldn't have to be searching a pedal to find a good sound from it. For me, the pedals that I connect with quite quickly. I play and I go, oh, there's something in here that's worth delving into. I find the pedals that I have to really work hard to pull something out of are the ones that I find more challenging to connect with. That's not to say I don't connect with them at all, because sometimes there are pedals that a certain sweet spot, and you find it's like, but generally, the ones I have to work, harder on.
You could focus your attentions elsewhere. One thing I promised myself I would do and never did was pick a pop tune every week. I happen to listen to Greatest Hits Radio, so they play songs of the
Gotta pick a pop tune or two.
70s, 80s and 90s, so music that I can listen to without wanting to drive into a wall. And a song will come on that you may not have loved when you were young. So, I don't know, Cyndi Lauper. It could just be anything. Take that song, work chords out. Make that your Tuesday morning ritual or Monday morning. And then once you've worked the chords out, then then work out inversions of those chords. And actually, if you just poke yourself in that direction, and actually have a playing goal, because I think one of the problems with trying to find sounds and option paralysis is you're not actually trying to play anything, you're trying to get tones. Well, turn that on its head and put your concentration into actually playing something and having something like that, which is something that you've got to concentrate on. And what you'll find is they're all pretty diatonically based chords that came from the Beatles.
Yeah.
All of those 80s songs. And they're not that hard to work out once you work out, it's usually 1, 4, 6 minor or 1, 4, 5, 2. And once you start hearing it, you can work them out pretty quick. Some glorious songs in there. Glorious songs. Even Madonna, it sounds like so overproduced and incredibly poppy, but you pick those chords out and just start playing the song. It's very satisfying.
Indeed. And amazing playing on those tunes as well.
Yeah.
Anthony Pettit says, just as a positive, feel terrible, head like a bag of spanners. But at least I've got some easy viewing to help keep me sane. Hope you're feeling better, mate.
Hope you feel better, yeah.
Yeah.
Mark Lavinish, hi Mark.
Hi, Mark.
He says, I got a Kingsley Deluxe 50, 1x12.
Very nice.
I saw it in the background of a local guitar ad, emailed the guy and convinced him to sell it. I tried to sleep with it next to me in the bed, like a boy with his new truck, but was immediately denied. If you can't relate to that, you've got no business being here.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
You must do that when you get a new guitar. You put it down the end of the bedroom, so when you wake up, you can see it.
Oh, no, it's always in arm's reach.
Yeah.
It's like a little sleeper. It's like, oh, there you are. Okay.
I did it with a gold top. I didn't feel like I could tell Dan. I didn't feel like I could play the gold top before I told Dan that I owned it, but I didn't want to tell him until we were live last week. So I took it home and I was looking at it. Wim Jacobs. Hello, Wim. You share a name with Wim Hof, the
Wim Hof method.
the breath holder.
Yeah. He did Everest. He climbed Everest in shorts.
Nice.
He's amazing.
Surely don't you die if you do? Don't your legs fall off if you do that?
So this is the thing called the Wim Hof method. He's an amazing guy. He has all these world records, and he's all about. So I'm starting to do the cold shower in the morning thing.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Congratulations, mate. Dan hates the cold in like such a unbelievably big way. I'm starting amazing.
off. I'm starting off for like, and at the end of the shower for like 15 seconds, 20 seconds.
I bet you feel warmer during the day if you do that.
Yes, and your energy is different during the day
Yeah,
because you go to the show going, oh my god,
Yeah,
that sets you up for a great day.
Our mate Damo, who does the Kurt Maggin strings and very many other things, and is a good mate of ours. He does the Wim Hof thing.
Does he? Okay. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Cold. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
But I do think if you went up Everest with shorts, your legs would fall off. They'd get frostbite, wouldn't they?
I don't know.
What's the old dude who does all the mountain climbing? Fiennes, is that his name? Ranulph?
Oh yeah, and he's related to. Oh, anyway, yeah. That
Whenever
guy.
he's on morning TV, like
the finger missing and a bit of a nose gone, and his left.
His publicist has gone, come on, you've got to do this, and you can clearly see he's like, oh, I just don't want to do telly. I just would rather be up a mountain. And he's on the TV, and some well-dressed young person is going, so tell us about being up Everest, and he's like, well, you get up there, it's bloody cold, and some of my fingers fell off. What else do you want to know? You get a bit hungry and it takes ages, but I like it.
Brilliant.
How did we get there?
I don't know. How are we going with super chats?
Yeah, obviously.
We're okay?
We're miles behind.
Right.
Anyway, so Wim Jacobs says, hi DNM, greetings from Antwerp, Belgium. I'm a 50-year-old beginner building a pedal board. I went for an external control. I want an external control for my Boss Looper. I found Bright Onion pedals, make some. Mm-hmm. Do you have any opinions, or would you suggest an alternative? Thanks for inspiring, says Vim.
Yes, I've actually been. Bright Onion have made stuff for us in the past, and their stuff is great. So if they do an external controller, and they're also very reasonably priced, they're excellent.
Do it.
Yeah.
In some parts of the world, bright means sharp, doesn't it? You would say you have a bright knife.
Really?
I think so.
Okay.
Good luck, Vim. Thanks for being here. Moz Wright.
Nice.
Thanks for the insights, he says. New Pedal Day, Analog Man Mini Chorus.
Oh, nice.
And later this week, a Greer Lightspeed joins a BB preamp and a Prometheus clone.
Ticking all the boxes.
Then a KOT later this summer. I'm in month 52 on the list. Should I keep all the drives?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And just swap them in and out as you feel. Because one week you'll feel great about the Lightspeed, and then something will happen and you'll be like, man, I'm not feeling that this week. Time for that one.
Yeah.
And just have that level of flexibility. You know, if you can afford to do that, if you don't have to sell them to buy the next thing, then definitely do that.
Yes. The pedals that you've mentioned, they've all got a very different voice, and as a gain staging platform, you've got absolute corkers there. So if you can afford to, hold on to them. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you could certainly think about one of the things that Dan and I really love is 2 or 3, usually 2, but sometimes 3, very low gain drives all stacked in. So you get a nice amount of gain, but you also get this really interesting harmonic relationship going on. So it's not just about the gain, it's about some really interesting harmonics start getting made. And if you do that and everything's low gain, you may well want a heavy overdrive sound as well. So you could just stuff something in the front of that, gained up, to be really lovely. That's a nice way to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a good excuse to have lots of overdrive pedals. Eagle Ray Rob. Rob, thank you so much for your continued generosity. He says, because love.
Ah, bless you, mate.
Thanks, Rob. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. Matt Lloyd. Well, Matt, congratulations. Cheers, buddy. He says, hi, guys. I finally quit corporate America.
Wow.
And I'm helping my wife with her small business. Yay. Anyway, I was wondering what are your favourite boutique amps for blues and blues rock? Let's say I've got a nice mini pedal board and a nice jazz box.
Okay. I haven't played one of these myself, but I've heard some really great noises come out from those red plate amps. But blues and blues rock, I mean, I don't know, you can use anything for that.
You can, especially if you've got a nice little pedal board. You know, I would always be looking at a 2-rock, so Studio Signature, something like that.
It's funny, isn't it? Because you think 2-rock and why you don't instantly think it's going to be appropriate for rock. But I heard you do the Jimi Hendrix thing with the 2-rock, and it was the best tone. It was like, I just find that thing so interesting, because there are some other guys there trying to go for a Hendrix tone, and you just went for your own thing and you're more conscious about playing the things like Hendrix.
Yeah.
And it was so...
Well, a bit like you'll phrase it like Gilmour, if you get the phrasing right, or if you try and be in the dude's head.
The actual tone of it is so much less...
Without it being like a sort of copycat exercise, it's more a spirit of...
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I use that amp for anything and everything, and it's really great. But, you're in the US, Matt, so we really should mention Friedman. We really should mention Tone King. We really should mention Dr. Z. I mean, I keep mentioning Dr. Z. We should acquire a Dr. Z, because what Z does for the cash is
awesome.
Superb. And I don't mean to say if they were more money, they'd be better. I don't mean that at all. I mean the way Z builds amps in other brands, it's way more money.
Yeah.
Way more cash. So really, really cool stuff. We love the Imperial Mark II.
Amazing.
Because you can get a Tone King, because you can get really splendid sounds out of that at sensible volumes.
Yep, and both the channels on it are very, very usable. Yeah. Like, they both sound great. And
unfortunately, really unfortunately, I've started to get a vintage amps thing going at the moment, which is, we cranked Dan's AC30 up last week. Ainsley's brought us a 64 Reverb to mess around with, and I've been cranking that, and it's like, there is really something about old amps.
Yeah.
Equally, this 80s Behemoth that we cranked up today, not much that can't do, is there?
No, there really isn't.
So I think go with your heart, Matt. Go with what's going to make you happy. What's going to when you look at it and you go,
yeah,
I'm down with that, because the truth is, you can get most things to sound pretty great. You just got to connect with it.
Yep.
I guess if you're using a jazz box, you don't want anything too high gain.
Yeah.
But dear old Ted Nugent proved us all wrong on that one, didn't he?
Indeed.
So
Indeed.
It can all be done.
Yep.
It can all be done.
Do we need to turn off Super Chat now?
Probably.
Yeah.
Especially as we've got to get out and eat copious curry.
Exactly. I'm so excited for food.
Yeah, let's turn it off now. Okay, anyone who has super chatted, we shall answer you. Please, no more super chats. But if you've done it to this point, we shall answer you.
Indeed.
I understand the implications of this action. Yeah, right. Back in the game.
40 Watt Podcast says Dr. Z is maybe the best dollar to tone value in amps today. Yeah, interesting.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah.
It's slightly different in the UK because of import and all that gubbins, but I would imagine in the US.
Yeah.
Where were we? Congrats as well, Matt. That's really cool. We wish you well with that.
Yeah, mate. All the best.
That's something that Dan and I have both done in our lives, and indeed Catherine, who runs a business here, and it's worked out well for all of us.
Yeah.
Not necessarily financially, but in terms of life, quality of life,
and that the value of that,
Yeah,
it's beyond anything.
Ledge bottom lines, says Ranzer.
That's very good. That's very good.
Have you ever spent any quality time with a baritone? It's inspiration galore. And do you have any tips for adjusting the signal chain when playing in that lower register? Cheers.
Great question. I haven't, but I've played a bunch of them. My favourite was a Fender Super 6 that belongs to Graham Coxon that I was playing. And it was like, this thing is just amazing. But does that count as a baritone, or is it like some sort of bass thing? I don't know. It's very bassy with 6 strings on it. It was really cool.
Yeah, I think many of you watching this will know this. I hadn't quite realised how popular they were in the sort of 60s and 70s.
Yeah, right.
And 50s for that matter, the old Danos. And you'll be hearing a record and all of a sudden you'll hear like a down-tuned guitar, which is not a bass. Yeah. Picking out a little melody line or something.
Yep. And there's loads of them. There was the Dan Electro Longhorn. Yeah. There's the what else is there? The Fender one. There was two. There was 2 of them. No, there's a bunch of them. But yeah, you can,
Yeah, what are they? They're typically tuned A to A or B to B, aren't they? I think baritone. Right. And you just get that lower register. So let's say you've got 27-inch scale. Let's say B to B, because A to A is pretty low, but it still sounds cool. I love playing open position chords on it and just picking them out. And you get a bit of an intonation wobble and a bit of, I guess, signal chain order. You could use loads of gain if you want, but I love the sound of them clean. Yeah. And just for that, just hugeness of everything. I think it wouldn't really necessarily do anything. What you can do is just lean on the natural low end of the frequencies being produced by the guitar and the amp, and just be a little bit careful with your bass settings, because too much of that and it'll get flubby. Yeah.
Also, it's for me it's less about those frequencies, because they will sound good. It's more about making sure that the outputs from that particular guitar aren't so much higher than your standard guitar. Because generally, like, most amps will be able to go down low and they'll sound really good and do what they do. But especially
if you've got 200 watt EVs,
that will work. But I think I've heard down-tuned guitars with like really high output pickups, and it's not actually about the frequencies of the lower strings. It's about the guitar is just hitting things so much harder. Yeah. But yeah, great fun.
Enjoy that. We should get one, really.
Yeah.
I remember when we did the Tones for Tash series of videos that sort of kicked all this off, really. There was a Squire baritone Jazzmaster, maybe.
Oh wow! Okay.
And I played a piece on there. I think it was like Remembrance Week. Right. So it was kind of somber thing, and I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed it. We should get one. Yeah. Square Wave Symphonies. Thank you for your generosity. Blimey.
Thank you, mate.
So Alex says, good evening. A follow-up to last week's chat regarding my PhD, because Mick asked which field I'm working in. Why did the Scarecrow win a prize, Dan?
I don't know, Mick. Why did the Scarecrow win a prize?
He was outstanding in his
field. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Come on, you're a dad. You should know all these jokes.
Oh, my kids don't listen to me anymore.
Anyway, Alex says, my main focus is philosophy of technology.
Wow. Oh, how awesome.
It gets more awesome. I'm writing about religious motives in modern science and technology. Much love, Alex. Alex, that is...
Once you've finished that, Alex, please send a link. I would absolutely love to read that. That's fascinating.
Fascinating. Truly, truly fascinating. And I think, wow, that is so relevant right now, isn't it? Good on you, mate.
Yeah, well done.
That's exciting. Good on you. To the people of the UK, says Andreas Linderholm, check out the Great British Valve Project.
Okay.
Sounds like someone's going to try and make some valves.
In a tent during the summer. Oh, and here comes Daniel and he's trying to make a thing. Oh no, he's completely stuffed up the heater and they've all gone wrong. Oh no, he's going to be out. They've voted him out. Okay, yeah.
Dan's
awesome.
glowing blue and yelling 450 volts plate, 450 volts on the plate. That's great. Well, whatever that is, we should get behind it. That sounds good.
Awesome.
Thank you, Andreas.
Yep.
Paul Matulovic. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Paul.
He says, howdy, stocking stuffers. Any experience with, if you don't, by the way, if you are new and you don't get these references, people would refer to us as legend, and we said no, more like legend. So what happens is people are coming up with other versions of legend. So I'm sorry, when you explain the joke, it's just not funny anymore. But if you are confused, that is why Paul is saying howdy, stocking stuffers.
Yeah, I like that. That's very good.
Leg ends, you see. Any experience with LAN devices, Henrietta
Yes.
Engineering or Seeker? Also, if I message GRUSA, can they send me a UK mains cable?
Do you mean Gig Rig USA?
Ah, there we are.
Yeah, just support at the Gig Rig and then they'll sort you out. But to your other question, which was what?
LAN devices,
Oh,
Henrietta or Seeker.
If you go and check out
God, it's hot.
the Frankenstein pedalboard build, I used a LAN devices mixer on that, and it is fantastic. Can't say enough good things about their stuff. Really interesting brand.
Marcus Reeves scored himself something LAN devices this week, didn't he?
Right.
I saw on Instagram. Hello, Marcus, if you're watching. Yeah, Henrietta Engineering, you know about them?
No,
No, or Seeker?
don't know them.
No. Yeah, sounds like we've got some discovery to
Yes, I'll make a note.
do. Cheers, Paul. Naganud.
Sorry, G, but I just said Soul Brothers, SOLE. That's very good, G. That's very good, mate. That's funny.
Loud music is still alive, says Naganud.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
My girlfriend and I saw Baroness in a little club in Austin, Texas last night. It was the loudest and best show I've seen in a decade, and wonderfully reassuring that not all stages are quiet.
Man. Yes,
Happy
absolutely.
days.
So we
Happy days.
had John and Gina on from Baroness, and they live it.
Yeah,
They live it, and
it's so cool.
it's so wonderful.
So what I love about that sort of experience from our end is that, you know, that's not the kind of music that I'm into at all, but their passion for playing guitar and music and everything else is exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
And not that my opinion matters in it, but I think what I mean is no matter what you are into, the passion to do it and the willingness to engage with loud guitar and loud music is the same regardless, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's blooming brilliant. It's infectious. That's
Indeed.
good. I wonder where you were in Austin. Were you in Continental by any chance? That's pretty cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I haven't been.
It's ace. I played with Red
Yes.
Volkart there.
Oh yeah, you did.
I say played with him. Played a song, 2 songs.
That technically counts as playing with him.
Very cool. And I'm jealous of you being in Austin in Texas. DJ M Check. Hello. We met at the recent gig.
Pedal Porn did a spoof of us this week. It was very funny,
Oh, really?
and they included DJ M Check on the spoof. It was very funny.
Ah, Chris, I haven't seen that. What's the spoof?
I'll shout to you tonight.
Awesome.
It's on Facebook. It's very funny.
Okay, great final choice for the delay for mixed gig based on his criteria, says DJ M Check.
Yeah.
The flight time is so musical and versatile without gimmicks or deep dives. By the way, are you still playing a digital rack style delay episode? Kinda. It's a little bit controversial, but without having a TC2290, which we will obtain one day, we will.
Look, it'll go right there.
Yeah, there is a hole there for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, that little Vox panel across the front is perfectly 2 units for
Yeah.
22.
We do have another awesome 2U analog rack delay in there, though.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
The
we
one
do.
that John gave us.
We do. And it's awesome.
Ah, let's get that in there.
Yeah.
Nice. So the issue I have personally with the rack thing is that everything is optimized on the board, right? And so once you get back there, we're then talking about line level. We're talking about all kinds of things that you have to do to make up for all of that, which isn't impossible, but it is a pain. And actually, hand on heart, with the exception of stuff like the 2290, certain classic bits of gear, I actually think modern pedals sound better, personally.
I'd agree with that.
And they're easy to use, and you can get them on the pedalboard. Check this. Dan will give us some commentary.
So this is the board that we used for the show today, and it's you'll see that we've got the Kingsley Maiden and the Paso Doble and the Tweedy Drive. The Tweedy Drive going to the front of the Maiden going into the Paso Doble, which is basically Maiden and the Paso Doble is basically a Dumble style preamp, and that going into some modulation and delay and reverb, stereo reverb into both sides of the power amp. But we had all the modulation delay just on one side.
Yeah, so we've split that cab, wet, dry, top and bottom. And it's a sort of, excuse my French, a bastardization of old rack and modern pedalboard. And I am taken with it.
Oh, man.
It sounds, well, to me, it sounds spectacular.
Yeah. What got me is that you could turn it down and it sounded the same. And you could turn it up and it sounded, obviously everything louder sounds better. But it wasn't completely reliant on everything being on the edge for it to sound good.
Yeah.
It just, man, the headroom in that, like when we first turned it on and it'd be like, bing, bing. And it's like, it just rips your head off because it's so quick and so dynamic.
Playing's got to be on point for that, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Anyway, so yeah, DJ M-Check, we may well delve further. Once we sort of come into land on this approach, it might be that we augment that over time and add a few things. We do have a couple of bits of tasty rack stuff kicking around, so maybe.
Yeah.
But that was highly enjoyable, wasn't it?
Unreal.
Video coming in a few weeks.
Yeah. We have 1,000 people with us now.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh my goodness.
I love hanging out on Mondays. It's
great.
so good.
It's great. Dan Herbert. Hello, Dan. He says, howdy. I got my Princeton reissue fixed this weekend in
Nice.
a blown tube. Confined to my THR10 for a month. Hard to express the sense of satisfaction. Louder is better. Thanks for all you do.
You're most welcome. And yes, definitely. Especially with the Princeton. You get those things on at that loud level. And it's so special.
Yeah. I can't argue with louder is better. There's to a point. Too loud is oppressive.
Yeah. If too loud is oppressive. However, if you use that volume dynamically,
Yeah.
it can be expressive.
Yeah. Like it.
Boom.
Yeah. Like making little kids cry at wedding gigs when they're just messing around in the front of the stage and you go, here's 200 watts of EV. Have some of that. And they look at you and their eyes wrinkle and... I don't do that, by the way. It'd be dangerous. They're awesome on the end of a mic. Lee Tintle. Do you know any Teletubbies? No, but I know from Frank Zappa. Lee Tintle. Lee says, bipedal mammal lower limb extremities. Bipedal mammal lower limb extremities. I will be playing in my brother's wedding next month, but can't take my amp on the plane. Question to follow.
Mm-hmm.
I think this might be the one that BV. Let's see. Yeah. I'm building a versatile pedal board and think I want to use the 2 notes cab M plus to go direct. Would you recommend a Constable or a Maiden D for a preamp? Any other suggestions? Lots of love. Yes, we would recommend either of those things with full gusto.
Yeah.
The Maiden D, for me, is just a spectacular thing. It will overdrive a bit, but it's really, if you want that sort of clean, sparkly thing. Constable, I find personally, it sounds glorious, but it is a bit harder work.
Sure.
And if you want that Marshally thing, it's unsurpassed, in my opinion. But it is very traditional. It's not like most people's version of a recorded over-gained Marshall.
Yes.
It's actually like a proper Marshall.
Exactly.
And that can be quite hard work.
Yeah.
Maiden D, absolutely without question, my favourite valve guitar preamp of all time ever. There we are.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
But it is clean. It's clean. So it's great with pedals either side of it, actually.
Yeah.
If that's what you want. Enjoy. And where are you going for your brother's wedding? Don't know where you're going, but have a lovely time and all the best for your brother and their partner in being married.
Yeah, have fun, mate. Just a quick one. Simon Nagy says, any news on the rescheduled gigs that fell victim to COVID? We will have some news next week, hopefully.
Yeah, we're trying to. Andy's coming over. We're trying to tie some venues down and sort of plate spinning on that, truth be told. Perilous Temple. He says, hi, I love the shows lately, but I always have. I've been experimenting with my Ratsbane as my always-on tone shaper.
Oh, nice.
Low overdrive, Dan's use of BD2, etc. It's pretty special. Reference, first Coldplay core sound.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Tell you what, that Parachutes record, Coldplay get a bit of a bad rap in latter years, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
That Parachutes record that's got yellow on it and all that is such a great record.
Sure.
Really, really great record with lovely sounds on it. Nice. I didn't know that. Do you know what that is, Ratsbane?
Yeah, it's the... Who makes it? Is it the Wampler? It's a based on a rat.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Wampler.
But he's got a different gain range in it.
How does that work then? Because presumably Brian wasn't making pedals when Yellow came out. Was he?
I don't know. What's Ratsbane got to do with Coldplay though?
He says it's the core sound of the Coldplay record.
Oh, okay. I think he just said think core sound of Coldplay.
Oh, I see. In terms of general light OD.
Yeah.
Nice. That's really cool because one would associate a rat type thing with higher gain.
Yeah.
Nice. But you get that edge.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Very nice. Alex Black. Who is your favourite jazz guitar player? And favourite jazz player on any other instrument? I play bass, so my favourite jazz bassist is Jimmy Blanton.
Oh, nice.
My favourite other player is saxophonist Lester Young.
Beautiful.
So, favourite jazz guitarist?
So, I'm in a big jazz phase at the moment, and I've listened to loads of jazz players, but no one really. I don't know. It was a long time coming because I learnt all about jazz, but then I heard Pat Martino, and it just everything changed for me like in a heartbeat. And it was like, that's what I want to be able to do. So he's my favourite jazz guitar player, like hands down. And man, it sounds so boring. Well, not boring, but Miles Davis. When I heard Kind of Blue, again, so many things just made sense for me when I heard that album.
Yeah. It's just, I would agree on Miles because I'm not deep into jazz.
But the thing is, because that album is pure jazz, right? But what Miles did with that is he's like, see how beautiful this can be?
Yeah.
I'm just, and it's like, and you can see why that album affected so many people because it's accessible.
I would put Blue Train by John Coltrane in there as well.
Yeah.
But I unfortunately have a sort of hate relationship with saxophone.
Sure.
and there are certain key famous artists down the years who've done that to me.
Okay.
One being Bruce Springsteen and one being Kenny G. So it just... I think also as a kid we had a saxophonist and he used to wander out into the crowd at every gig, and I was like, man, that is so cheesy. So I got very grumpy about saxophone, and when I want to not feel grumpy about saxophone, I listen to John Coltrane. But it's got to be Miles, hasn't it?
Yeah.
If for someone who isn't steeped in jazz, then it has to be Miles.
But then that's really interesting. Why this idea that you've got to be steeped in jazz to enjoy jazz?
Well, because I think it gets...
It can get very cerebral.
Understand it, it gets more cerebral and harder to understand the harmony.
Yeah, but why do you have to understand the harmony to enjoy it? It's like if I go and see a classical thing, I'm not there trying to analyze it. I'm there to just be embraced by the sound. I think Mozart was so successful because he was so accessible and his melodies and stuff. And when you hear great jazz, it's like there's part of jazz. The thing that I'm in now is I've got all this information in my head and I'm trying to get it out and trying to find ways to make it sound melodic. And it's a lot of work because it's going to, like, for a number of years, it's going to sound not melodic.
Yeah.
It's going to sound like I'm trying really hard to be clever. I'm not. I'm just trying to get these things under my fingers. So
doing your 10,000 hours.
I'm doing that. When you hear Miles, he's done that. He's like, okay, I've got all that. This is the path I'm just going to express myself. And that's all that is just being able to express yourself. So it's like, sometimes when you hear lots of jazz and your ears can be open to different harmony, and that's all really great. But man alive, there's some, when I hear Pat Metheny, and some of his stuff is really accessible and so
I've been
beautiful.
thinking about who my favourite jazz guitar player is, and I think it's George Benson, which is kind of, it's almost cheesy to say, but if you listen to his early stuff, before Give Me the Night and all that, just an astonishing jazz guitar player.
Incredible.
Utterly astonishing jazz guitar player. And again, accessible for me because it was pretty bluesy.
Yeah, right.
In the way that Wes could be bluesy, Wes Montgomery, but then sometimes just, once they start playing Autumn Leaves and that, and I just don't understand the harmony, I don't get it.
Sure.
But Pat Metheny, big time.
Man. I heard something he did on YouTube the other day. I was like, oh my word.
And again, John Scofield, right? Because he sounds a bit bluesy.
Yeah. And that's, I think there's 12 notes, right? And it's just a combination thereof. And anyone can play outside notes, but it's understanding the intent behind those notes. And something John Scofield does better than anyone, I think. He knows, he has real intent and purpose behind every single thing that he does. And yeah, he's amazing. Cool. That was a great question.
Yeah. So we've got Steve J saying Kenny Burrell, Midnight Blue. Rax FX says Miles was a great boss. I did 2 summer European tours with him. Was a pleasure to work with.
Wow.
How cool is that?
Awesome. Ted C says jazz. A good song played wrong.
Talou Jet says Grant Green. Great shout on Grant Green. Bill Evans.
Who did the album 5 O'Clock Bells in the Morning?
Michael Brecker. Yeah, nice. Philip Church. I've had a couple of his records. Listen to him a lot. While you're thinking about that, someone says, if Mick loves the ARDX20 so much, why is it never on his board?
Why doesn't he marry it?
Says Jude Lee. The reason is because I have to put 2 boxes on the board. I've got the main ARDX20, which sounds fantastic, but you have to have the Amazio as well in order to get the modulation, and it's just too much pedalboard real estate.
Too much.
It's too much. So I do
money.
love it dearly, but even I will compromise for space sometimes.
Yep. Lots of people saying Tal Farlow. Tal's amazing. Mike Stern, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Who else we got coming in?
Gordon Rankin says, we skipped high school to see Benson give a jazz clinic at the University of Pittsburgh. He called us down to play with him. It was something I remember forever. What a great, awesome memory, Gordon. How amazing.
Chris Quinn says, Mick fears jazz. When he hears jazz, he messes his trousers and goes running to mum.
He fears it.
You'd be surprised, actually. You would be surprised what I listen to.
So thing, the tap thing is, and they play so quietly. They're afraid of it. They're afraid, and they go to universities to learn how to play with fear and how to play it wrong.
Robin Ford too. Yeah, I mean when he was doing his jazzy stuff.
Yeah, with the yellow jackets and stuff. Yeah,
Bill Frisell. Yeah. All good. It's tough, isn't it, saying jazz? Of course, it's so vast.
It's so vast.
I mean, I was going to say Zappa, actually. I watched a great documentary on Zappa the other night and forgot how much I love him.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't think he was a very nice guy.
I think he was intense.
Yeah. He was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying he was, but I have a particular problem with narcissists.
Okay.
For lots of reasons.
Sure.
And when I see anyone with narcissistic tendencies.
There's the album.
Yeah. And for those of you thinking what an ironic comment that might be.
For a couple of YouTubers.
Yeah. I do have a bit of a
that's funny.
bugbear with it. Anyway, let's move along. G Barge. Hello, G.
Hey, G.
Gentlemen, another shout out for great guitar techs. I received a new Ricky 360 Harrison 12 last week. Yes, he did. The neck was S-shaped. And 2 pegs were too stiff to turn. Straight to the brilliant Larry Cragg, who worked his magic yet again.
Lovely.
Thanks to Larry.
Well done, Larry.
Oh, that's a cool score, that, G. Dan and I are so reluctant to buy one because we love one, but we know it's the kind of thing you'd pick up every now and again and play Mr. Tambourine Man on it.
Yeah.
If you're going to get that, you've got to commit to it and promise never to play Mr. Tambourine Man on it.
Because I was in a band with Dave Gregory for 10 years and he, 12 string was his thing. And it's like, I just know I'd always just sound like a hack with a 12 string. I'd have to really commit to it for a long time because to play that thing properly is a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Especially the Rickies because the courses of the strings are so close together.
Yeah.
Your accuracy's got to be so bang on.
Such a great sound, though, isn't it?
It
Again,
is such a great
bit like
sound.
the baritone. You know the Rick when you hear it in the Byrds or other people, the Beatles. You know it because that's part of the sound of that. But then every now and again you just hear one crop up on a pop record here and there or something more contemporary, and it's like, cool. Especially with overdrive, love it.
Yeah, man.
Whit Anderson, hello Whit. My favourite TPS shows are the ones that delve into the D&M process, like Fridays. Show idea, you guys build gigging boards, 6-ish pedals, set up to play both Les Paul and a Tele or a Strat. You guys rock.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Whit.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, that is a great idea. To be honest, most of the boards we do are sort of that, really, aren't they? Because more often than not, one of us will have a single coil and a humbucking guitar.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do. Funny enough, we filmed one today where we don't normally film on a Monday before VCQ because filming's quite, surprisingly enough, it's quite an involved process and it requires a lot of brain work, which I'm not always up for on a Monday. Anyway, I phoned Dan and I said, look, let's just do one tomorrow. Voyage of Discovery. I've been trying to get this flipping thing off the ground and I keep stalling. So just come in and help me get it done and we'll get it done. And it was sort of, we just stumbled through it, didn't we?
And it was great.
And it was really good, really, really good discovery. So Whit, thank you for saying that because it energises us to do more of that stuff.
Yeah.
As the confidence builds. When we started off doing this, I think I was especially nervous about making sure that the thing was polished and professional and kind of had a point.
Enter Dan.
Yeah.
It's like, nah.
But I think what we've discovered and what we've got more confident in, I mean, it's never great for clickbait and it's not great for big views, but we've never been here for that in the first place. It's more like actually properly discovering things as you do them is so much more enjoyable.
Definitely.
And for anyone who can be asked to sit and watch the video, like most people are like, geez, man, you guys do not cut your videos enough. There was a comment today, you guys don't put enough cuts in your videos. And I was like, if you don't like it, go and watch something else. Because that's what we do. And sorry, I'm banging on. Too much coffee. Thank you for saying that.
Yes. What did he say?
I kept cutting across you, Dan. Sorry.
It's all right.
This must be really annoying to listen to on a podcast. Can you let the other guy talk?
That's good.
I think that other guy's gone home.
Blacktop Blagger says, I just subscribed. Love your show and your live chatters. Cheers, mate. Thank you. G Bar says, I just rewatched the Dave Gregory show, Dan. I still bought one. Yeah, nice. In consult with Larry and anticipating possibly returning it. If too many problems, it was salvageable. Okay. So the 12 string. Yeah. Actually, if you if you want to hear Dave do a solo on the very first song on our very first album, Dave does a 12 string solo on a song called And Go. And it's remarkable.
By which band, Dan?
By a band called Tin Spirits.
Nice.
Yeah, just awesome.
G also says, sorry, by S-shaped I mean convex at the 3rd fret and concave at the 10th. Yeah, we're familiar with that. More on the bass side, both truss rods needed much adjustment. The perils of buying online.
Oh, because there are 2 truss rods in those things, isn't there?
Yeah, apparently so. I didn't know that. The backstop was a reputable seller with a return policy. Larry saved it. Nice.
Very good.
Yeah, I bought a couple of EV speakers at auction last week, and lo and behold, one of them didn't work. I have contacted the auction house and said,
half refund.
I appreciate it's largely my problem, but if they're not working, surely you should have said.
Yes, indeed.
And he said, look, on this occasion, I will half refund you, yes, if you want to keep one of them. So that was good. Thank you to that auctioneer.
Very good.
Let's say you have a fuzz and a treble booster that both need to be first in line, says Lane Hillard. Hello, Lane. Can my new G3 enable that, assuming they aren't both on at the same time? Cheers from Dallas.
Sorry.
Fuzz and a treble booster.
Okay.
Both need to be first in line.
Yep.
Can you do that with G3?
So you can. Here's the problem. The fuzz and a treble booster have a very low input impedance. And what happens is, because the parallel splits in G3 are passive, right? Which is great. So you can definitely do it. But the problem is, when you split that, let's say you've got a 10k input impedance come out of your guitar and it's hitting so let's say you got a 5k input impedance come out here and it's hitting a 20k input impedance on a fuzz. And often lower. When you split that passively between a 20k input impedance on the fuzz and a 20k input impedance on a treble booster, then basically they're being loaded, as opposed to something with, say, a 1 meg input impedance. You wouldn't really notice that split, audibly, but because the input impedance is so low, then yes, you'll really hear that. But you can definitely try it, because I've done that thing before where I've split into 2 treble boosters and actually got a really cool sound. So give it a go.
Might be slightly too obvious, but does it not just mean that because they're not both on at the same time, you can't just have that one on or that one on?
No, so what we're talking about is having them parallel, so they're both on, split going into them in a parallel.
He says, assuming they aren't both on at the same time.
Oh, I thought I was talking about a parallel split.
No.
Okay, then yeah, absolutely, because everything's true bypass.
Yeah.
So if that's fine.
Totally, yes.
Absolutely fine. Sorry.
Yeah. And if the other great thing about G3 is if you did want them on in conjunction, you could just reorder the loops.
Yeah. There you go.
Happy days.
Indeed.
I just read the most bizarre news story. Apologies for checking my phone while we're live. I'm just making sure that Ainsley isn't sat outside waiting. Free-range eggs are no longer available in the UK, Dan, because of bird flu. Apparently there's been an outbreak of avian flu, which means the birds have got to be kept inside, and they have to be kept inside for a longer period of time than allows the use of the term free range.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Okay. That's not going to affect our curry tonight, though, is it?
No egg on my curry, thanks.
All right, great. No,
yeah.
good. We're good.
It'll be an eggless curry. Might be some chicken in it, of course. But sorry to the chicken. Who are we on now? Ian Fan. Hello, Ian.
Hello, Ian.
In a Mexican Strat, or any Strat, is there a method for identifying what kind of pickups are in it? I don't think mine is standard low output pickups. Well, you can do a couple of things here. One is it's not exactly the best method of doing it, but if you've got a multimeter, one of those things with two prongs on it and the turny dial, you can plug a jack in, use a short lead, and you can measure it at the output, which isn't, obviously it's going to be seeing the rest of the circuitry of the guitar, but you will get an idea of how many
the DC resistance.
DC resistance. Yeah. That in itself isn't that helpful because DC resistance really isn't the be all and end all of, a pickup's output. I've got pickups, and Dan has, that read very low DC resistance but are absolutely barking.
Yep.
Present, loud, lovely pickups. So other than that, you can check the original spec of the guitar by Googling it, but that doesn't mean they haven't been changed, or you can just take them off, take the pickguard out of the guitar and have a look, and there will be some kind of marking on there that you should be able to cross-reference again.
It's the only way to be sure.
With a Google search.
Yep.
As to what they are. It'd be interesting to know what Mexican Strat it is. Yeah, because obviously they've done so many over the years. Some have upgraded or different or alternative pickups in there. So, yeah. If the easiest route is to just do that with the cable and the multimeter, and if you're reading any more than about 7K, then yeah, they're not standard low output pickups. Kevin
said, Mick, it's the same eggs, just rebranded. Very good.
Chris Groom, hello Chris.
Hey Chris.
And Chris, your ongoing generosity is bonkers, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, bud. Really appreciate it.
He says, hi Dan, hi Mick, great vlog on the 3-pedal board, although it changed a lot before the end. Hope you enjoyed the gig. All the best from Chris. Yeah,
I turned up to the gig and
I don't know what I've done with it.
Nick has gone, yeah, changed it again. I'm like, what? It was hilarious. G-Bud says, at least it's honest advertising. The eggs will be called barn eggs.
Yeah, apparently so.
Oh, there it is.
So it started off, if you saw the video we did where I was choosing the pedals, it ended up like this. Imagine a tuner on the end.
Nice. They look lovely together, those two, actually. No messing.
I am a big fan of Free the Tone stuff, I have to say.
Yeah.
And it's quite funny, as I reflect in the video, it probably wouldn't have mattered what I'd chosen at the end of the day. All that mattered is that I was comfortable with it, so that my brain could be trusting, even if only psychosomatically, what's going on down here. So I didn't need to worry about it, so I can be free to not worry about it.
Yep.
I put the overdrive on because the Duelist, pound for pound, set in the way I like it, I think sounds better.
Yep.
To me.
Sure.
But I was too worried that being a dual-sided overdrive, I'd get all worried about everything and just use too much gain.
Sure.
And every time I do that, it's a crying shame. Just much better to use less gain and be more audible.
Yeah.
Even though that's got plenty of gain in it. But yeah, it was a lot of fuss for...
I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah. It's like we think about these things, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
In the next one on pickups, I get really maudlin about it and talk a lot about psychological time.
Very good.
Because I've come to an understanding about pickups.
Yeah.
Like, if they're good pickups, and by good I mean either something old and good or something new and good.
You're good.
You are sort of... And this is logic, this is common sense, and it's something that has probably been said in a million comments, but you have to experience it for yourself before you believe it.
Yeah, sure.
And that is that just get some pickups and learn the guitar.
Yep. Eric Catterell says, you sounded awesome at your gig, Nick.
Thank you, Eric. That's very kind of you to say.
Yep, he did. He did. I was there. It was epic.
Thank you, mate. It was good. It was.
lovely.
Everyone was I was a bit nervous for sure, but it's all good. It's just great to play. Can't wait to do more of it.
Please. Please, sir.
And thank you, Chris, for that kindness. Connor Larkin, new guitar day on behalf of my mate. We went to Chicago Music Exchange and he bought a used Raptail PRS McCarthy that rang like an acoustic guitar and sounded like Malcolm when plugged in.
Nice.
The plexi we're plugged into didn't hurt either. Nice. Nice. So I guess Raptail, is that a P91 or a humbucker one? Don't know. It's good. The gold one that I've got with the P90s is a acoustically very resonant guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
That's great.
Nice one, Connor.
Daniel Herbert says, psychological time is all in your headroom. I like it.
Has Ruido Madrid, or it might be Hath Ruido Madrid. I've just revalved my Laney AOR 30. It's a great sounding thing, but pig ugly. Can you think of other bits of gear that sound great but are held back by the way they look?
Oh, man.
All the best for Madrid. Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, God, I may get hauled over the coals for this, but I've never thought 2-rock amps look that good.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
You know, the dials and everything and all the rest of it look great, but the logo I've never loved.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a personal thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. It's like sometimes...
Any guitar designed after 1965?
Yep, there's that. It's like if I look at a Vox, I don't see any of that stuff. I just see that's the amp that makes that sound, and I love that sound. Therefore, I love how it looks.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like band names, isn't it?
yeah.
Pearl
Totally.
Jam.
Yeah.
What should we call the band? Pearl Jam?
Great, done.
Why?
Next.
Why do you want to call it Pearl Jam?
Next.
Why don't we call
I
it...
said next. Play the song. It's called Pearl Jam. Leave it alone.
The Red Hot Chili Peppers. Not very imaginative, is it? Like, what's unusual about Red Hot Chili Peppers? They exist. They're just like a normal thing. It's like saying, let's call it the, I don't know, slightly greyish field mushrooms. It's what they are.
That's a great name for a tribute band.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, I don't know. Yeah, some stuff doesn't look great, does it?
Yeah. It's just nitpicking.
Do you know what a lot of people don't like, Dan? A lot of people don't like big headstock Strats.
No. They're the best Strats. Look at that thing, man. Look at that. I think I actually prefer the sound of the big headstock Strats. I think they resonate differently.
This is Ainsley's 1970, which is a really interesting guitar. What I, you know, being a pre-CBS snob, even though I don't own any.
Yeah.
You know, there are all those things associated with 70s Strats, but look at this: 4-bolt neck, no bullet truss rod, original grey bottom pickups, pretty much the same as they were.
Right.
What else? Bent steel saddles, steel trem block, lightweight older body.
Yeah, it's an amazing guitar.
It's just a great guitar.
Yeah.
And it's gold, and he had it refinished in nitro. Anyway, Ains is going to talk a little bit about we are going to talk with Ains a little bit about 70 Strats tomorrow. He's got a bit of a thing for them.
Yeah.
And has acquired a few recently. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, I thought that was pig ugly for years, but then
Really?
Landau comes along with his
Yeah,
68, 69 and Yngwie and Richie Blackmore, and you're like, well, maybe it's pretty cool after all.
Yeah. So I'd love one of the what telly was it? The telly custom with the
Yeah.
Strat headstock.
Yeah, or deluxe, yeah.
And yeah, always wanted one with the wide range humbuckers and all that stuff. Yeah, really, really cool guitars.
Super groovy. Marcus just texted me. Marcus Reeves, he says, I'm a few minutes behind. Seeker was the guy I emailed you about. You've got one of his Mark 1 tone benders on the way.
Oh, wicked. Oh, great.
Thanks, Marcus.
Mark 1s.
And thanks for the nippers as well.
Do we have new nippers?
Marcus was worried about me when I chopped a bit of my finger off in last week's video, and has sent me some safer tools.
So funny.
Cheers, mate.
That was so funny.
Mike 2203 fan. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Mike.
He says, hi guys. Dan, would you please explain what input and output impedance is? I've asked this before, but I'm still not sure. Of input impedance especially.
Okay. So it's really interesting, actually. I sat down with my engineers, my gig engineers, and was like, okay, how do we explain impedance simply? And it's actually really complicated. You know,
I thought you were going to say it. It's actually really simple.
It's actually not, because there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
But there's a simple thing to remember. The higher the input impedance is on a pedal, the easier it is to drive to get the signal into that pedal. Just think, impedance, something that impedes the signal. And if it's a really high input impedance, it's like, for example, most amplifiers have got a 1 mega ohm input impedance. Most effects pedals, well, so Boss, they're all different. But say a Boss CU2, I think that's around 600k. They say it's 1 meg. But it's still very high, and it's easy to drive that. Now, if your pedal's got a low input impedance, it's harder for the signal to drive that pedal. So
that's the bit I've never understood.
Right. So
because why is it harder to drive 2 than 20?
Right.
Surely driving 20 is harder.
Right.
Like if I push 20 kilograms out of the way, that's harder than pushing 2 kilograms out of the way.
Yeah, but what you're okay. It's like the lower the input impedance is from the guitar, right? So let's say I've got a really low output impedance pickups.
5.8k, let's say.
Yep. Now that will drive the capacitance of the cable in a certain way, right? And it'll drive that a lot easier than, say, 20k pickups. Even though the 20k pickups may be louder, may have more voltage on the output, they won't drive the cable capacitance in the same way, right? Now that when it hits the input of the pedal, that's it's the easiest way to think about it. Yeah, you're not pushing that 1 meg out the way. You are. Think of it like this. That measurement of input impedance is basically, think of it, that resistor, that 1 meg, think of it that your signal goes in and then you've got this 1 meg to ground, right? So I've got this really massive input impedance to ground, which means only a tiny, tiny bit of my signal is being lost to ground. But if I've got a lower input impedance, say 20k, much more of my signal is being lost to ground, which is why if I got my fuzz face, I've got a 20k input impedance, and so much of my signal is being lost to ground. But if I buffer that, it just pushes past that resistor into the fuzz face, and all that top end and harshness comes in, and it's gross. So in some pedals, you absolutely need that lower input impedance to sound right. some of my favourite overdrives have got a relatively low input impedance, and the way it reacts with your volume control, it's all, you know,
Like a fuzz face.
like a fuzz face. It's exactly the same thing. It's because there is so much going on with all that stuff. Impedance is a combination of resistance, capacitance, and reactance. And all these things work together to give us that value. The easiest thing, unless you want to get deep into AC theory and all that stuff that, you know, why, the easiest thing to remember is a high input impedance is easily driven by a low output impedance. A low output impedance from the guitar will easily drive a high input impedance. The lower that input impedance is, the harder it is to drive. So it's a thing called impedance matching. In theory, the value of what is being driven should be 10 times what is driving it, and then you've got a good match. In actual fact, in guitar land, we drive much more than that. If I've got a 5k output impedance going into a 1 meg input impedance, we're doing that's 20 times. If that's buffered, then we're talking hundreds of times. But all you have to remember, a low input impedance will drive, a low output impedance will drive a high input impedance. It's why if I've got a 4 ohm power amp, right, and I've got a 16 ohm speaker, that 4 ohms is going to easily drive that 16 ohm speaker. But if I've got a 16 ohm power amp and a 4 ohm speaker, that 16 ohms is going to really struggle to drive that 4 ohm speaker. So
I fundamentally don't understand it because the numbers seem upside down to me.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't understand. I think, Mike, you and I need to do some basic electronics and physics reading.
If you go back and watch the...
yeah, actually, Dan does explain it
the
really,
buffer show.
really well in the buffer show.
It's all there.
You explain it very, very well in the show we did about buffers, I don't know, probably 3 months ago or something like that.
But it's really interesting. If you ask any engineer, you know, as I sat down with my engineers at work going, how do we explain this really easily? You know what? It's really tricky.
Yeah. And
It's
presumably
really
it's
tricky.
changing all the time as well because of...
Well, it's frequency dependent.
Yeah.
You know, it's, yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot to it.
Yeah. Basic physics for you and me, Mike, I think.
Yeah. Best thing is, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
If you can remember that.
That's what I was
low
going to say.
input drives high input. Low output drives high input. That's fine. Just go with that.
Or just don't worry about it.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Ross Philpott. Hello, Ross. He says, amazing. Because of you, I now aerate my wine.
Yes. That was, honestly, it changed everything for me. That
I have some beautiful bottles of Pinot Noir. Dan bought me a lovely blooming Napa Valley Pinot Noir last week.
Enjoy
it was
it?
really good. It was really good.
good.
I bought back from Mornington, Australia. I'd love to send you a bottle just to say thanks. That
Oh,
pedal
bless
tasting.
you.
Ross, that's super kind of you. I don't even know how you'd go about doing that, but why don't you send us a link and we'll buy some.
And we'll let you know how it goes.
We'll let you know how it goes,
Yeah.
and we will thank you for the recommendation and
There
your
we go.
kindness. And please enjoy your wine. Yeah. I hope that doesn't sound too ungrateful. Just the thought of sending a bottle of wine through the post is like, might get smashed.
Yeah.
That would be sad.
That would be sad. That would be very sad. Everything those grapes have been through.
Yeah. Mornington. My uncle lives on the Mornington Peninsula, and my brother lived there for a long time too.
In Australia?
Mm.
Yeah. Lovely.
Andrew Pickup, who actually did send us some wine. Thanks, Andrew.
Oh, yeah.
He says, I sold my first guitar I ever gigged with. It was an Epi Dot, as I now have an Epi 339 that I bought when my son was born, so that won the sentiment vote. You guys introduced me to its new owner, so here's a thank you.
Oh, fantastic.
Cheers, Andrew.
Well
Hope
done,
you're doing
mate.
well, mate. Actually, we saw Andrew at the Neville gig as well.
Yes.
He was there, yeah.
And he was at one of our experience days.
Indeed.
Yes. Lovely chap.
El Espectro. Hi gents, I love the show. I'm looking for your thoughts on the ultra noiseless vintage Strat single coil pickups from Fender. We're not fans of noiseless pickups. For no other reason than I want the noise.
So for me, it depends on. It's always a compromise. Everything's a compromise. I've heard some Kinman noiseless pickups that I really like. I think he does a fantastic P90. I don't. I'm not a massive fan of active pickups. However, I do think that Greg Koch's active pickups sounded really great. We had Devon Townsend sent us a guitar to use on a show that we've just filmed last week. And of course it's going to be a high output thing, but we measured it and it was like 3 volts on the output. It was just absolutely screaming loud,
crazy loud,
and
yeah.
Anything that we plugged it into just distorted.
Yeah,
and that's the design of that pickup for Devon, right? Because it's mega heavy and it's like when you stick that into some gain stages, it just sounds killer. But for me, whenever I've heard active pickups or noiseless pickups, there's just always been a bit of a compromise, and I've never heard the noise and gone, well, I can't have that.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I've interviewed enough people over the years where they've gone, I've been touring Strats, original 63 Strat, and the noise from venue to venue was just murder.
Right. Sure.
And there's a very, very practical reason for having noiseless pickups, and I'm sure that's a big part of why Greg Koch went to them and why lots of people use them, because, it's a practical solution to a very real problem if you're playing under huge lights every night. Similarly, if you sat there in front of your computer monitor and you've got a dimmer switch on the wall, it is so crazy annoying when you have to, face a certain way, turn all the lights off, and might be even that you can't even get away from that. And so, yes, in that instance, it makes total sense to go noiseless, or indeed just use a humbucker guitar, which is what I would do. But I'm of the other end of the spectrum, which is I'll compromise everything else before I touch the guitar.
Sure.
And Greg Koch sounds amazing with them. So there's proof. There's all the proof you need that they're great.
Yeah.
That's all we need to say.
Indeed.
Yep. As for the Fender ones, haven't really played them. Played some of their earlier iterations of them when they went to the Samarium Cobalt magnets. I thought they were pretty good, actually. Played those in a Strat. Did a couple gigs with those.
My favourite ones were the gold lace sensors. I thought they sounded great.
Yeah.
You look so disappointed in me.
I just...
They worked in the rig that I was using at the time.
They might have sounded like the best Strat pickups ever in the history of the universe.
Right.
But how can you look at a guitar? How can you look at a Strat that's got no visible pole pieces?
Sure.
It's like taking the wheels off a Ferrari and going, look at my lovely new Ferrari.
It's a hover.
It's like, it hasn't got any wheels on it, man. I can't do it. I just can't do it. Not that I'm set in my ways or anything. Yeah, I don't know where they are. I don't know what the ultra noiseless ones are now. What sort of spec they are, what magnets they're using, or anything like that. But one would assume they get better and better and better with each version. I know a lot of people really, really love the Damasio ones.
Okay.
Whatever they're called, Zero Air something or other. Lots of people really, really love those. But I don't know. Listen to all your favourite guitar tones ever recorded and ask them how many had noiseless pickups.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
Okay. James Ellisor. I took a mental health day from work today, spending part of it with you gentlemen and playing a bit on the Strat and Telly. Thanks for continuing to bring joy. wishing you all the best, James.
Yeah, mate.
If you're feeling a bit glum, then unfortunately, Dan and I are both well aware that there is pretty much no way around that other than sitting it out.
Yeah.
And just remembering that tomorrow is another day.
Yes, indeed.
And that is about the best advice I can ever give anyone who is feeling glum.
This too shall pass, my friend.
Yeah, tomorrow is another day.
Yeah.
So good on you, James. Hope you're using that day to just look after yourself. My stomach is grumbling.
It said, I heard it then.
Yeah.
It said, curry. Curry.
Give me curry. Jim B. Any opinions on Baritone pickups?
Baritone.
Never played them.
No.
Baritone pickups.
Square Wave Symphony says, gosh, I love VCQs. We do too, mate.
Thank you.
That's so much fun.
Yeah, they look nice. Handcrafted in the USA.
Oh, lovely.
Clarity, articulation, and dynamics. Yeah, I mean, what do we say about pickups? There's a lot of people out there making really, really lovely pickups. Yep. It's, what is it? Is it a paradox that they are unbelievably complexly simple?
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Because, you know, you get a bobbin, some magnets and some wire.
Yeah.
You wind it round there, connect them up, guitar pickup.
It's like anything, isn't it? It's like you can... I have one of the engineers at work. He used to work at this place. Another guy he was with used to work at a place just made diodes, right? You think a diode, it's, you know, it's a diode, right? But this place that made diodes, they had 19 different things that would make the diode do its thing.
What does a diode do?
Oh, it's like a... it basically will drop the voltage depending on... you've got your 4 voltage in your...
Allows
your
the
overdrive pedal
flow
and
of current in only one direction.
Yeah. And it'll take a certain amount of voltage to get there, which is why when you use them in an overdrive pedal,
Low resistance in one direction, high resistance in the other.
Exactly. Which is why when you want to get them an overdrive pedal to do its thing, you put 2 back to back, so it'll do like a AC wave.
Yeah.
It'll like basically one will do one side of the positive wave and the other will do the negative side of the wave. Yeah. It's basically, look at what makes a transistor. It's very similar to having a couple of diodes. You know, it's a similar sort of thing. Yeah.
I don't know what. Be interesting, wouldn't it? It'd be interesting to do some, like, literally from the earliest things I can remember. I was fundamentally not interested in any kind of science.
Oh, I think. Yeah, I always have been.
Exactly. Some kids are just like completely into it and it really lights them up. I wonder what that is. I wonder if it's a synapse thing or a pathways or maybe it's something much more environmental than that. Like you had an initial bad experience with science because somebody made you feel stupid because you didn't understand it or something like that.
Maybe.
A bit like kids learning in school, you know, you tell them they can't do maths and they think they can't do maths for their whole life.
Yeah, right.
Even though they probably could. That's interesting. Yeah, I've never been the least bit interested in it. Could be teachers.
Yeah.
Could be that the teacher didn't
Inspire
connect with
you.
them or something like that. With no criticism of teachers, by the way. Just a straight personal thing that doesn't happen. Yeah, I literally just. Yeah. Anyway. Oliver Lawton. Ed O'Brien says Oliver Lawton describes the Deluxe Memory Man as a god pedal.
Indeed.
I can't afford a real Deluxe Memory Man, so what should I get instead? I'm looking at the Starlight and the Clockwork. Universal Audio Starlight and the J-Rocket Audio Designs Clockwork.
Both really good. Neither of them are a Deluxe Memory Man.
No, they both sound quite different, don't they?
They both do.
A couple of specific things about the Clockwork. It's way brighter than Dan's DMM.
It's one of those things. Man. If that is the specific sound that you're after, there's a lot of really great modulator delays. For whatever reason, the Deluxe Memory Man, I mean, we did it with Ed's board, right? I got all the best contenders. And even the new small-bodied Memory Man just weren't in the same ballpark as the old big box one. It's a really unusual thing. And what's really interesting is that it's got a lot of faults, a lot of, I guess, design flaws, because it's really noisy.
Well,
there's no filtering going on. So you can see why a lot of people have gone, I know, I could take this design and make it better.
Yeah,
and make it. And it's like, no.
It's the idiosyncratic nature of these things that makes them unique, isn't it? What about the 1100 TT? You quite like that?
1100 TT is lovely.
Which is also the Electro Harmonics brand.
And that's close. There's a couple of different versions of that, and that's much closer.
Yeah. Because it's all about those specific chips to begin with, isn't it?
Those chips definitely have a lot to do with
power
it.
Supply, filtering,
the preamp in it, all that stuff. It's
we would say try and stay analog if you can. The digital simulations always good, but there's just something about high end they cannot do.
Yeah.
And for a different take on it, look at something like like he said, there's so many great analog delays out there with really good modulation. Jam Pedal's Delay Llama Extreme,
amazing,
is unbelievably good.
Yeah.
It would be flipping interesting to see how close you could get with something like the Future Factory or the Flight Time.
We'll have to have a play,
because if you watch Dan's Frankenstein delay board build, what he explains is, we all think it's about the delay, right? We all think it's about the Bucket Brigade chips making that delay. But before that, like he just said, and apologies for repeating this, you've got a preamp, potentially some kind of companding or compression going on, which might not be a specific component, but it might be a feature of the circuit. You've then got some EQing going on.
Yeah.
And then you've got the modulation, and all those things are very specific.
Indeed.
So if you can get something that's got control over all those things, that might actually get you closer than something that makes all those decisions for you. So I don't know about some of the really nice, like how close could you get with the 2290, for example?
Yeah.
Or how close could you get with something like the Free the Tone Flight Time? Is the modulation just completely the wrong shape?
When we went to Denmark to TC Electronic, and we sat down with Tor and we did took my CE1 pedal and wanted to get that done in the tone print, and we turned off the dry signal completely to have a listen to the wave of the modulation, and it was all over the place. And Tor, that's the first time Tor heard it, he was like, oh man, that's an absolute mess. But that absolute mess is what makes it sound so great. It's those little things that give it character and personality.
So what would you say then? We need to come up with an answer for Oliver. You've got to buy one, Dan. What are you going to buy?
If I had to replace the Memory Man today, I'd probably go the Clockwork.
Yeah.
I think the Clockwork's really good. The issue with the Memory Man is that one of the things that's so hard to reproduce is the EQ of the repeats. The EQ of the repeats are sort of almost mid-scooped, if anything. And with most analog delays, especially when you hear them trail off, the mid-range, because we've got the signal's going back into the chip, and we get that feedback loop thing. And the mid-range, as the repeats go on, it filters and filters and filters, so you get this sound where it's just taking away bottom end and top end. You're ending up with this mid-range thing. Memory Man doesn't do that. Or does it to much less extent. It has so much bottom and top still in those repeats. But it's lovely and warm and delicious. It's a weird thing. But yeah, I think the clockwork is very good.
A few other suggestions coming in. Eames says, I like the Sir Discovery. That's pretty spectacular.
It's a spectacular pedal. It will not do the Merry Man thing because of the again with the EQ. You'd have to be able to notch those mids out of it.
Benjamin Murphy says, quite happy with the Strymon Brigadier.
Strymon Brigadier, okay. Strymon Brigadier is a great shout. I actually recorded on a Tin Spirits album with it in the studio, and it was fantastic. So that's a really good shout for the Memory Man thing.
Mythos Oracle says Mr. Wit 30, kinda, really great analog delay, but doesn't have any modulation. Delay Llama is very close, apparently. I'm confused about a Delay Llama because they sent us a new one, and I was
doesn't have any modulation.
Put that on my board, and it doesn't have any modulation.
No.
So that's out.
You have to get the Delay Llama Extreme.
Yeah.
Extreme Llama.
Is anyone else? Yeah. Bell Epoch Deluxe. I mean, we keep coming back to the Bell Epoch Deluxe. It has a Memory Man setting in it. So it will also give you a nice tape style delay, really nice preamp. If you're going to go for a digital simulation, that's probably the one I would go for.
Right.
That said, the UA Starlight is really, really good.
It's great.
It's really, really good. Anyway. Right, moving on. Hender9 says, I'm getting wonderful feedback from an aux box with headphones and no speaker volume. How is this possible without pickup and speaker interaction?
Wonderful feedback from... Okay. Well, how much gain are you running? Because you can...
Well, you can't get feedback.
No, but so it might not be feedback in that sense. But if you've got enough gain going in it, and the notes will sustain in a certain way, and as the sustain dies down, but I have to hear it to see if it really is. Because you won't get infinite sustain.
Are your monitors on? If your monitors are on, that is possible.
Yeah.
So if you've got headphones on but your studio monitors are on, then you can totally get feedback that way.
Sure.
But you have to have a speaker exciting the pickup.
Yeah.
Or the strings to vibrate. I hope your headphones aren't so loud that's
it's
causing
leaking
it.
Through.
But that would be, that's hard to imagine that being possible. Yeah. No idea.
Yeah.
Are you sure that you are?
If it's proper feedback, you should be able to hold a note and just
go for a bite.
Have a bite to eat. Come back. That'll still be going.
You'll still be hearing that one.
Still be hearing that one. So yeah, just make sure if it is feedback, that's a mechanical speaker turning into hitting the string, turning into kinetic energy, turning into...
Yeah, I'm asleep.
Yeah, all that stuff.
For those of you who don't know, that's how feedback works, isn't it? A sound wave comes out the speaker and it makes a string vibrate.
Yeah.
And then it goes back into the speaker and vice versa.
Yeah, because it's
ad infinitum.
Yeah. But it's at the resonant frequency, and the fundamental parts thereof. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. We don't have any...
Very interesting.
Maybe somebody in the regular commentations has... yeah. Namantuni Dupont says, hello legends, great show as always. I was wondering what is this amp in the background? It is a Mesa Boogie 5050 stereo power amp on top of a Mesa Boogie, and I'm trying to pronounce it in the right way, 2x12 EV loaded cab from the mid-late 80s, which Dan and I have just made into a wet-dry thing. We've done a video on it today. I am a little bit fetishistic about mid-80s boogie stuff. even though I don't have a good collection of it, and sort of scratching a bit of an itch just recently.
Yeah, well scratched. It's awesome.
Ranzer, what are your thoughts on the Gibson Theodore? Have you seen it?
I have seen it. And the first thing I thought was in Monty Python, where there's a lute player as they're going through the woods, and it just looks like a lute to me. But man, I'd love to try one.
You know why it's called Theodore? Because Ted McCarty drew it, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'd love to try one. Reserve judgment, because
of course, of course, I
could be really cool.
Genuinely thought it was a joke when I saw people posting pictures of it online. I thought it was Gibson USA. If you don't follow Gibson USA on Instagram, please do so immediately.
Yeah, it is hilarious.
That, in a nutshell, is what the internet was invented for. That and pictures of cats. And, why not? Why wouldn't that be a really cool guitar? It's sort of got hints of Brian May's Red Special. It's got hints of a West Tone Thunder 1A.
Yeah. Is it the Destroyer headstock?
Explorer,
sorry.
Yeah, why not? I mean, why wouldn't it be a good guitar?
I can sure come up with a couple of reasons, but I definitely would like to try one.
I wouldn't, but... there's no reason why it's not a great classic Gibson, right?
Sure.
It could be as classic a Gibson as you've ever seen, couldn't it? I mean, it could be up there with all the classic Gibsons, like the ones that have really changed history. I mean, I think it's up there, isn't it?
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm being ridiculously facetious. You know that I'm biased towards old guitars. Or old designs, anyway.
Yeah. Right up there.
Don't throw anything at your screen. Please don't throw it at your screen. All you're damaging is your screen. Yeah, cool. Why not?
I want to try one.
Why not? Why not? Could sound. I mean, right. Let's have a look. Let's be more sensible about this. Let's have a look at the spec.
Hang on, show the price again.
It's $5,000.
Flippin' heck.
Okay, older body. An older body. Walnut centre strip. Lightweight. Comfortable, powerful P90s. Yeah, I mean, why not? Could sound flipping magic, couldn't it?
Could do.
Shall I tell you what sounds magic? That.
Yeah.
Nice one. Well, good. Good on you, Gibson, for doing. We do like to pick on Gibson, don't we? Largely thanks to the Firebird X, among other things over the years. But let's rewind to 1958. What happens in 1958, Dan? I'll save you the trouble.
Please.
Gibson does three things that are really interesting. One is they say this flipping Les Paul guitar is not selling. Nobody likes it.
Yes, okay.
Let's make it sunburst.
Okay, wow. Because up to
Secondly,
that point it was like gold and...
Yeah, no, it was not successful.
Right.
Secondly, tell you what, says Ted McCarty, I think what guitar players want is a thing which has got like a solid bit in the centre and hollow bits around the edge. Don't tell anyone we told Les Paul it wouldn't work like almost 10 years ago, but anyway. So in 58, out come the 335, the 345 and the 355. 355 might have been a year later, but anyway. 345 might have been a year later, but anyway, 58. 1958, right? Just Google 1958 and see what was going on in 1958. Not much.
Wow.
No flipping internet. Telly was rubbish. It was, no mobile phones. Cars they look cool, but they were crap, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do people eat? Like stones and mud? fighting in the streets. 1958 was a long time ago.
Sure.
Out comes the Les Paul goes Sunburst. Out comes the 335, the 345, and the 355. So say the guitars that Ted was most proud of.
Right.
And they go, hey, guess what else comes out in 1958? The Flying V,
Flippin' heck.
the Explorer,
Right.
and the Did Not Exist Modern.
Right.
What
What is
would-
the Destroyer and all that lot?
I don't know about the Destroyer. Is
Oh,
that a
the
newer
Ibanez?
thing?
No, sorry, I got it mixed up. The Explorer, right.
So, what do people say about Gibson? They go, my God, they've got this flipping V-shaped thing.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. What a ridiculous...
Space Race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was so, that was so popular, they only made a handful of them and totally discontinued it.
Yeah, right.
A bit like the Firebird X, and maybe, who
No, they're
knows,
worth $1 million.
like the Theodore. I think history tells us that Gibson has pushed that envelope
Sure.
consistently
Yeah.
and done wacky, weird things, and for that, you've got to love them, haven't you?
Yeah.
Maybe.
You certainly have to respect the history and the decisions that were made back then to, because it costs a lot of money to put a guitar in production. As some guys had to go on, we're going to get behind this.
There we are. We'll see how the Theodore gets on. And interestingly, 40 Watt Podcast says, hi from Mississippi, recently acquired a Kawa Banshee. And I'm smitten. Any love for Firebirdish guitars? See, there's another flipping crazy design by Gibson. Firebird. Any plans to get one, says Philip.
So what's going to happen is we're going to get Dave Gregory on the show, and he's going to bring his incredible collection of Firebirds.
Nice.
And honestly, after that, I'd be very surprised if we don't have a Firebird in the collection very soon.
How do you feel about the reverse Firebird versus the non-reverse Firebird?
Okay. I don't know what it is. So, right. The Firebird 1, Firebird 1, 3, 4, I'm trying to think of the ones that I know Dave's played.
I'll put you out of your misery. That is a reverse Firebird. Body's upside down.
Yes. So, that's Dave's...
Sorry, that's a non-reverse Firebird.
Yeah. I think that's the one he plays the most, and it's the most astonishing sounding guitar. He's got the fully reverse headstock ones as well.
For those of you who don't know, that is a non-reverse Firebird. And the one that Johnny Winter played and the one that Phil Manzanera played and etc.
Yep.
They're reverse.
Yes.
They look cooler in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. I can see how... Yeah, I think they do. The reverse ones do look really cool.
It's like
and the banjo tuners and stuff on them, they're...
almost like an Explorer that's been left on a beach for too long and it's
Sure.
gone like a pebble. Have we? Yeah, so we'll do the show with Dave.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. So maybe, Philip, maybe we will. And good score on the Banshee. Kawa make flipping great guitars. Love a look at Kawa guitars. Andrew R. Greetings from Michigan. Long-time listener, first-time chatter.
Oh, excellent. Thank you,
Will
mate.
we ever see a Moog pedal on TPS? The MF103 12-stage phaser is my favourite bass pedal ever.
Awesome.
Phaser on a bass.
Yeah, man.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah. The bass on... money, 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 money. And then the phaser on that bass. I think it's a Roland Jet phaser.
Waterloo by ABBA.
Yeah. I'd love to get some Moog stuff. I don't even know. So I put a Moog trem. Moog. I put a Moog trem on Stephen Wilson's board, and it was really fantastic. He loved it. I think it's still there. Yeah, we should definitely look at getting some. That's really lovely. Actually, they did some analog delays, and they did a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, the
and
MF,
they're really
MF series
amazing.
stuff was really nice.
Yeah.
They were really goad.
They were very good. Very good.
Not made out of woad. Actually, they were made out of woad. They had woad on the edges.
They had
didn't
woad on the edges. They did. Yeah.
Oh god, it's getting late. The curry is calling. Wyatt Knox. Hi Wyatt. He says, "What's your ultimate P90 gold top rig? Thanks for the fun and rock on."
Ultimate P90 gold top rig.
Yeah, so we're talking about a Les Paul style guitar, mahogany body, maple cap with P90s.
I think that into anything tweed and loud.
Yeah. That's kind of where I was going with it.
Yeah.
To be honest though, any classic amp cranked is going to sound great with that.
Yeah. Sure.
Such a flipping great sound. Oh my god, such a great sound. Go on, choose one. You got to choose one.
One amp?
Yeah. And two pedals.
Okay. I will choose... a Bassman.
Oh.
Treble booster.
Oh god.
And a EP3. Seriously,
Not sure I can top that.
that's gonna be unbelievable.
Yeah. I'm going to change my decade then and go deluxe reverb. Yeah, see, it's hard to get away from the treble booster, isn't it? Because if you've got an amp that's cranked with that,
Yep.
you can't be looking at no ordinary overdrive pedal.
No,
you need a
it's just must. You do.
trebly boostery
You do.
type thing. And I'm not even a fan of treble boosters, and I'm saying that. Yeah, I can't top Dan's suggestion. I think that's great. And if the bassman's too loud, get a Tweed Deluxe.
Yep.
Um,
Gordon Rankin, I've been having a conversation with Gordon about treble boosters, and he sent me one of his sort of new designs he's been playing with. I had it play today.
Sounded pretty special.
Flippin' heck.
Well, there is a whole show on treble boosters coming up on Friday.
Yeah.
This coming Friday. It's pretty moving, actually. I found it moving.
Yeah.
As a non-fan of treble boosters, we cranked the AC30 and it was like, yeah.
Come on.
Yes.
Yeah. Magic.
Dave Case. Hello, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
I knew your brother hard. Sorry.
Yeah. And Flight.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Sorry, Dave. I don't know.
Don't worry, I'll be brief.
Yay! It's been a long day. Dave Case, are you aware of any super stereo modulation pedals which would allow for an effect, say a phaser, to be only on the left or right channel while the other side is dry? A lot of chorus pedals do that.
Yeah.
But then they'd probably only put the effect only, wouldn't they? 100% wet out of one side.
Yeah,
Actually,
I
no.
think you can, if you have a look at Thorpe did the, what's the Thorpe phaser that came out not too long ago?
What, the doppelganger?
The doppelganger thing.
It's not called that, is it? It's called a pulse Doppler.
The pulse Doppler, yeah, and I'm pretty sure you can do that.
Yeah. I think, couldn't you on a standard Boss stereo chorus, couldn't you configure the outputs to do either 100% wet and dry on that? Isn't that how they come configured?
I'm not sure.
And I certainly think you can on the more modern digital ones where you can configure the outputs to do different things.
Yeah.
Isn't that the... yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so generally, for a stereo pedal, a stereo modulation pedal in the analog world, what is doing the modulation what is getting that sound is a mix between your dry signal and the modulated signal. A lot of stereo pedals simply split the wet and dry. And they've been doing that since the CE1, right? The stereo output in the CE1.
That's what I was thinking of. I was getting confused.
Right. So, yeah, a lot of pedals will do that, but actually being allow you to say which is going out of which output is more challenging.
It's probably easier, Dave, to set up a wet-dry rig and just do it manually, as it were.
Yeah.
Because if you've got stereo capability anyway, then you've got wet-dry capability. You just need to split the signal accordingly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. Sorry we can't be more help on that, but I think a lot of those modern multi-modulation pedals, you can configure the outputs to do
they're very clever.
a combination of things that you want. So, for example, the Boss MD500, the presumably the one Plateriform, but I don't know. You'd need to check. Those would be our immediate choices. And the Strymon, what's Strymon's one called? Mobius, yeah. Presumably that has the ability to do that. Paul Matulovic, hello again,
hey,
Paul.
mate.
Any tips for getting your guitar through a flight in one piece?
Oh, okay. Check the on the website, the company website, there should be a statement about musical instruments.
It will begin with, we hate musicians
Yep.
and anyone associated with music or electric guitar, and we will do our best to make your life as difficult as possible.
So find the thing on the website that tells you about their policy.
Well, that
for
woman
instruments.
with 8 shopping bags, 15 pairs of shoes, and 27 suitcases, we're going to bend every rule possible to make sure she fills up every luggage cabin bin above your head with gratitude and pleasure.
So check out the policy on the website and print it out and take it with you. So I know that Andy Timmons flies with his guitar everywhere.
Children's
sure...
stupid wheeled suitcases that are shaped like teddy bears and dogs that contain one pair of socks and one something else totally inconsequential and unnecessary for the journey will allow as many of those in the cabin as we can possibly fit, especially the stupider shaped they are. But you, mister, with your gig bag, your flat gig bag that will happily fit up in that top locker there, nice thin Stratocaster guitar, nice thin gig bag, you can get deaf.
So print out that policy thing, take it with you, highlighted the bit where it says that you are allowed to take the guitar on. And often what they'll do, they'll say, I'll have to talk to the captain. And there'll be a place where they have hang suits and things. And,
Prams.
And the guitar can often go in there. Now, electric guitars and gig bags are much easier to fly with than acoustic guitars simply because of the depth of the case. But if you're concerned, a really good flight case really is the only answer.
Yeah.
But you can't take those on board with you. So
It depends on the airline.
yeah,
If you're talking about any of the European budget airlines, I'm going to contradict Dan and say forget trying to take that guitar on unless you book a seat for it.
sure.
If you book a seat for it and you do all of that ahead, you can take it on board, but don't try and take it on board. I've not taken flights before because they won't let me take my guitar on board.
Sure. David Burke says, in the US, there are legal protections for musicians travelling by plane. If you can stow your instrument safely when you get on board, they can't legally make you move it.
Yeah, they can't. I'm sure that's true, and I can't speak for American Airlines. What I can say for EasyJet and Ryanair is they will, no matter how polite you think you're being, no matter how much you try and explain,
Yeah.
there becomes this standoff. And I got to the point twice where I said, okay, just, can you take my bags off then and I'll find another way to get home. At that point, it's going to slow them down.
Oh, wow.
So they're like, oh no, we definitely can't do that. And they'll send you to the back of the queue and you'll come to the front of the queue again. And you'll say, well, we've just wasted half an hour. Can you take my bags off, please? Etc.
Right.
So now I don't bother. It's a flight case.
Yeah.
Or book a seat. Or if you almost as expensive and possibly more expensive, a company called Calton cases. They make literally the best guitar cases available
amazing
to humans.
Yeah.
They go in luggage without too much trouble.
Yeah.
Apologies for the rant.
It's great.
They make you feel so hopelessly useless. It's like, it's not a machine gun. It's a guitar.
Did you say gun, sir?
Oh yeah, no, never mention that. Scott W, you did some shows on Valve preamps, but do you know of any Valve power amps, i.e. a simple amp with no preamp section for a true modular setup?
Yeah, there's loads. Anything from the 90s.
Yeah.
The Marshall dual mono block, I forget what they were called, but I have one of those.
Yeah, most of them tend to be stereo, which you might not want, but that's a great way to go wet dry. There are lots of Valve power amps out there. One that often gets overlooked, which is not stereo, is the Fryette Power Station, which is actually a Valve power amp.
It's awesome. Yep.
We've used that on the show. Most people tend to look at it more as an attenuator, but it's actually a Valve power section as well.
Yeah.
So check out the Fryette
Power Station.
Power Station.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yep. I think Mua also do a mono valve power amp. Yeah, there's a bunch of them out there. And I'm sure Kingsley are doing a power stage now as well.
Yeah, if you just do a search for Valve guitar power amp, you'll come up with loads of options.
Loads of them.
Good news is they're not very trendy anymore, so they go for really sensible money used. Example A.
If you want to get one before next week's video.
Yeah. Lawrence Koch says, hello, number one. Thanks for all the great info and Spinal Tap. I'm looking for a standard size reverb pedal with MIDI.
A standard size reverb pedal with MIDI. Okay.
Walrus Mako R1, if there is one.
Yes, that's really good. My pick would be the Meris. What's the Meris one called?
It's bigger than standard size though, isn't it?
Oh, it's a big standard size.
Yeah. Ventris.
Adventurous,
By
yeah.
Source Audio.
Yep, that's really good.
What is the Meris called? Mercury 7.
Mercury 7, well done.
Yeah. That would be your number one choice, wouldn't
That's
it?
my number one choice. It's the one that's on my board at the moment. I think it's flipping magical.
I think it would be my number one choice as well.
Yeah.
Meris Mercury 7. MIDI. Yeah, you're looking at Meris, you're looking at Source Audio, you're looking at Walrus, you're looking at... Who else does one? Strymon? Little Sky, whatever it's called.
No, it's not MIDI.
Blue Sky?
No.
Yeah, don't look past the Walrus, the Meris Mercury 7.
Yep.
Astonishing sounding thing.
Yep. Amazing.
Right, Ainsley's on.
Cool. What, he's on the chat or is here?
This is problematic. He's not going to be with us till 9 p.m, mate.
Well, well, he can meet us at the... We'll take some home for him.
I think that might be the answer.
Okay, we'll do that.
I think that might be the answer.
Because now my body's ready for it.
Now curry has been mentioned.
We're there.
Yeah.
Or, depending how good the curry is and how long the session lasts, he can just meet us at the curry house.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Do you have Uber here?
No. No. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Good. That's us then.
Excellent.
You know what I've just done, don't you? I've got to make a massive apology to patrons.
Why is that?
I forgot to hit record. Oh God!
No, it's okay. We can.
Sorry, patrons.
Yeah, okay.
I might see if I can download the video then and strip the audio out of the video, which is going to be horrific. But oh God, I'm so sorry. I just can't remember all these things. There we are. Good.
Very good.
Eagle Ray Rob says, Calton cases, best in the business. Hoffer carbon fibre are also nice. I use Hoffer, they're a little lighter than Calton. Yeah. Good. No worries, Mick, we'll be fine, says Tim. Thank you, Tim. I'm really sorry. It's a complete doofus moment on my part. It won't be the first today. And it probably won't be the last. Good. One final thing to mention. Sorry if you've made it this far. Check out soundgas.com. Might be .co.uk, can't remember. Soundgas, some really good friends of ours. They do unparalleled work in studio and lovely gear restorations and repairs and all that, and they have the most amazing selection of stuff. Anyway, Soundgas are getting involved in auctioning some stuff for Ukraine. They've got some really nice stuff on there, made by various really cool people, raising money for that good cause. So please go to soundgas.com if you want to, or mightbe.co.uk, my apologies, if you want to get involved in that. They're just getting it up and running, so that literally came through last minute, that bit of information there.
Yep.
But check out Soundgas, check out what they're doing for the Ukraine appeal, and if you feel like getting involved in that, please do.
Yep. Hoover Guitars also doing something.
Lots and lots of people are doing something. It's not hard to find a way to give money if you want to do that. Yeah. Groovy. Anderson's raffle is still going if you want to get involved in that as well. Dan? Play us out. See you Friday. Thank you for being here. We'll have a lamb address. Fish patties, onion birdie, and maybe, I don't know, some sagaloo.